For literature, we have 3 genres of literature, which are prose, poetry, and drama. Very good. So the one we are looking at today are the elements, or what we call the features of poetry. Yes. So when we talk of the features or the elements of poetry, they are the terms that are related with the terms that are in relation with poems. We call them the elements of poems. Looking at them under 3 categories. We have stanza, and we have form. I'm going to be taking you through the 3 categories now. It's time to come up. So for the structure, when we talk of the structure of a poem, it has to do with the overall organization of lines or the conventional patterns of sound. When we talk of the structure of a poem, we talk about the overall organization of a poem. Now, when we are talking of poem generally, we are looking at lines and stanzas. Lines and stanzas make up a what? A poem. Compared to drama, where we have acts and scenes. For prose, we have chapters and characters. Are we together? But for poem, we only look at lines and stanzas because poems are usually in lines and stanzas. So when we have an organization of this form or a structure of this sense, we call it structure of poetry. And many poets today, or many modern poets today, will see that once a poem hasn't the right form, maybe it is not in that normal stanza form, it is not broken into stanza, maybe it is just written in a free-flowing form, in form of a prose. So they feel such a poem should not be regarded as a poem. No, we can't say such a poem is not a poem. In essence, we can say such a poem is a free verse because it hasn't a specific stanza. It is not broken into lines and stanzas. It is only in a free-flowing language. Am I with people here? Are we together? Yes. So when we cannot rule it out as a no poem. It is still regarded as a poem, just that it is a free verse poem. Now, so you don't have to panic when you see it in that form. I'm all with people here. So the next one is the stanzas. The stanzas are lines, series of lines that are grouped together. When we have series of lines grouped together, but are separated by a line. When it is separated by an empty line, we call it a stanza. When a group of lines are grouped, or when lines are grouped together, but separated by an empty line before another stanza, or before another form of lines, we call them a stanza. Am I with people here? So stanzas are always a group of lines that are together. Group of lines that are together. When we have a number of lines that are grouped together, we call them stanza. So usually when you see some of those poems, you always see spaces between them. Those spaces indicate that a stanza is separated from another. Are we together? So they are just like, they are similar to paragraphing in essay writing. Now, when we are writing our essay, we don't put everything together because we want our thoughts to be known. We use that paragraphing sense to separate a thought from another. The same thing applies to stanzas in poetry. So a poem can have a stanza poem, can be a stanza poem, can be 2 stanzas, can be 3 or more. Now quickly take you back to this free verse. If you have heard of this poem before, The Proud King. Have you heard of The Proud King before? That was, hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. You must have read it. The Proud King is a free-flowing poem. How many lines has it? How many lines is it? It has how many lines? It has 819 lines. And such poem is in a free-flowing form, in form of a storytelling. We are still going to be looking at that in the subsequent points. So, in essence, the Proud King is a free verse because of the nature of that poem. So the stanzas, like we have said, are just lines that are grouped together, separated by an empty line, which is similar to a paragraph in an essay. Now, when we are talking of stanzas, there are ways for us to identify stanzas because there are names given to those stanzas as they occur in poems. So when we have a poem of 2 lines, when we have a poem of 2 lines, we call it, the stanza name is said to be a couplet. It's a couplet because it has 2 lines. A 2-line stanza poem, a 2-line poem is a stanza on its own and it's said to be a couplet. So when we have 3 lines, it is said to be a tercet. 4 lines is said to be a quatrain. Are we together? Can you see it very well now? Sorry. It's said to be a quatrain. Then 5 lines, a quintet. 6 lines, we call it a sextet. And sometimes it is usually called a sexain. Yes. Then we have a 7-line poem to be called a septet. We call 7-line septet. We call 8-line octave. Octave is said to be an octave. So when we have a poem of 8 lines, we call it an octave. Are we together? So when we now have other forms of lines, maybe 9-line poem, 10-line poem, 11-line poem, they don't have a particular name. What we call them is, you simply call them a 9-line poem, or a 10-line poem, or an 11-line poem. Sometimes 10 lines are given name. So we call some 10-line poems a dizaine, D-I-Z-A-I-N, or sometimes a diazine. But they are not as common as these other forms of lines. Am I with people here?
Yes,
so we call diazine. A diazine is D-I-O-X-I-N, a diazine. So we can call a 10-line poem a dizaine or a diazine. But for every other form of lines, we simply call them 9-line poem, 11-line poem, 12-line poem, 13-line poem. But a 14-line poem has a particular name. When a poem has 14 lines, what do we call them?
Sonnet.
A sonnet, very good. A sonnet. So we are still coming there too. We call it a sonnet. So a 14-line poem has a particular name, and that is what we call a sonnet. So anything exceeding that has its name. They are simply 16-line poem, like that. So let's continue. Now, we have said we want to look at these elements of poetry in 3 categories. We have looked at 2 categories, and now the third one is the form. Now, for us to be able to identify a poem according to its form, that particular poem must have a specific number of lines. It has to do with its rhyme scheme, and sometimes its metrical pattern. But when we talk of this, whether it has this pattern, it has a rhyme scheme, or it has a specific number of lines or not, they can still be labeled according to its form or style. Are we here? So there are 3 common things we want to look at in poems. 3 common things that we can categorize poem according to form. The common types of poems according to its form. Now the first one is, we can see the form of poetry to be lyrical, a lyric poem, a lyric poetry. So this is any poem with one speaker. The speaker does not actually mean the poet personnel. It doesn't actually mean the poet personnel. So it could be another person outside the poet personnel. It could be another speaker. It is not necessarily the poet himself. Am I with people here? So yes, it is This type of poem is a poem that expresses strong thoughts and feelings, some emotions. It expresses emotions. It expresses some thoughts that are very, very strong. So most of these poems today in the modern world, they are seen as lyrical. We have a number of them that most of you sing now. Whether they are meaningful or unmeaningful, whether they are didactic, that is, whether they are with lessons, they are with moral lessons or with no moral lessons. We have a number of them today. So we see them as modern lyrics. Am I with people here? Usually, a lyric is better recognized or identified when it is accompanied by a lyre. A lyre, L-Y-R-E. That's a lyre. That's a musical instrument. Once that song or that poem is accompanied by a musical instrument, we call it a lyre. So, and in essence, we get to know that such a song or such a poem is a lyric. That is lyrical poetry. Then we talk about the narrative poem. From the word narrative, this is a poem that deals with storytelling. It tells stories. It is a poem that is usually in form of storytelling. Like I told you for the poem for the Pearl King. The Pearl King is a kind of story, is a kind of a poem in story form. So when we have some poems in this form, we call it a narrative poetry. So its structure, its arrangement is usually in form of a plot line of a story. It's usually in form of a plot line. Start from the insignificant event to the most significant events. Am I with people here? So usually it will take that ascending form of importance. It will take the climatic form of importance. Am I with people here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So we can have it as in the introduction of the conflict, sometimes introduction of the characters, sometimes the rising action, sometimes rising action, after the rising action, then the climax, and finally, the denouement. And what will come at the end will be the denouement, the resolution. Are we together? Just like the Pearl King, for those of you that are ready, if you haven't, go and read it. It is part of your scheme. So it will take that form. The denouement will come last. The resolution of all those stories will be the last thing. And that is a narrative poem. Then we have the next one, and that is the descriptive poem. The descriptive poem is also a poem from the word descriptive, to describe. It usually describes the world that surrounds it. Sometimes such a poem may describe a person, it could describe a thing, it could describe an event. Am I with people here? So most time, for it to be best appreciated, for a descriptive poem to be best appreciated, it uses images a lot. It is always appealing to your imagination. It will always appeal to your imagination. It uses imagery. You see it using imagery such that you can easily think or picture such a thing in your mind. When I say the boy is so tall, he's so tall in my poem, I say he's so tall. He has a white teeth. You can see that. The white teeth, you can easily picture the white teeth within you. You can easily picture the height of the boy within you because of the images I'm using. Am I with people here?
Yes,
so
ma'am.
We call it a descriptive poem. Now, for all these poems, all the poems, generally, they always have, they can either belong to any of those three forms we have stated above. All the type of poems can either belong to either of the three forms you have mentioned above. While some can take two of it, some can be descriptive and at the same time be lyrical. Some can be narrative and at the same time be lyrical. So they can combine two together. Am I people here? And for
Yes,
the free verse, it's either the free verse to belong to a lyrical poem or a narrative poem or a descriptive poem. So there's no type of poem that stands on its own. It will either belong to either of these three categories. Are we together?
Yes,
Then
ma.
Yes, ma'am.
look at the type of poems that are the subtypes of these three styles we have mentioned above. Their types. And don't forget I said these types will also belong to either of these three styles we have mentioned above. Now the first one I have here is hold. Hold. Many people will call it ode or hode. Is hold. So it is a kind of a lyric poem that praises, it praises or it celebrates a person, an event or thing. It praises. It can praise somebody. It could be an animal. It could be a thing. It could be an event. For instance, a popular poem, Ode to a Nightingale. Ode to a Nightingale. This is a praise poem to a nightingale. A nightingale is a bird. How many people here? So when this kind of poem appeals or appraises something, be it a human, be it an animal, be it an event or thing, we call it an ode. Then we have the next one, and that is an elegy. An elegy is also a lyric poem. But for elegy, it mourns the dead. It is used to mourn the dead. And it usually it begins with talking about the dead person and lamenting the reason for his death or the cause of his death. And then it will now resort to the grief by concluding that death is something that is inevitable. It's something that cannot be avoided. And that is why most times you see the personae or the poet personae eulogizing using apostrophe. It will be using apostrophe, calling out the dead. Oh, what's the name of this Yaremi's husband? Ajimobi. Oh, Ajimobi. Gone you are too soon. Look at that. Oh, Ajimobi. Gone you are too soon. Where is your eyes? Where are you? Can you receive or can you answer the call of your ancestors? Look at that. This is just like an apostrophe, a call. Is eulogizing. At the same time, it's just like an elegy. Is appraising the dead, and at the same time, mourning the dead, and using a form of apostrophe. Then we have sonnets. A sonnet, like I said earlier, is a 14-line poem. And usually we have two types of sonnets. Two types. There are two types of it. Two types of sonnet. We have the Italian sonnet, or what we call the Petrarchan sonnet, and we have the Shakespearean sonnet, or what we call the Elizabethan sonnet or the English sonnet. These are the two types of sonnets we have. For each of these two types, they have their rhyme scheme. For each of them, they have their rhyme scheme. For Italian sonnets, or what we call the Petrarchan sonnet, and for the Shakespearean sonnet, or the English or Elizabethan sonnet, they all have their rhyme scheme, their permanent rhyme scheme. So they don't change. The rhyme scheme don't change. It is always the same at all time. So when we talk of the Italian or Petrarchan sonnet, this is a sonnet that is named after a Petrarch, after a man called Petrarch. Petrarch, I think, is a Renaissance poet. A poet, an Italian Renaissance poet. So this poet, this name is given after him. Now this sonnet comprises of an octave. An octave, or what we know as, and what? An octave, or what we know as what? An 8-line poem. An 8-line poem. So we call an octave, it makes use of an octave, and a sextet. A sextet is a 6-line poem. So the combination of the two make up a 14-line poem. Now the octave is usually in the form of haba, haba. I would like you to use that style so that it will be easier for you to recall. Haba, haba, hey, be, hey, be, hey. Haba, haba. That's 2 quatrains. You can see we have 2 quatrains, 2 for 4 lines. Haba is the first 4 lines, then another haba is another 4 lines. So the coming together of the two make up an 8-line poem. Are we together?
Yes, ma'am.
The stanzas are just about 4 of them. So since the rhyme scheme still continue on the next stanza, and that is why we are regarding it as an octave. Are we together? So
yes,
we have it ba, aba, then testet, cde, 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 cde. Just try to master it. It's often come out in your examination. You surely see it. Be it the Italian sonnet or the Shakespearean sonnet. We have it as aba, aba, then cde, cde. That's the Italian or the Petrarchan sonnet. Then we have the second one, the Shakespearean or the English or Elizabethan sonnet. This one also consists of 3 quatrains. It has 3 quatrains. 3 quatrains. And the last one, the last stanza there is a couplet. The last stanza is a couplet. So we have it as habab, habab, cd, cd, abab, cd, cd, iff, gg. Are we together? Abab, that is a b, cd, cd, ef, then gg. Why do we call it 3 quatrains?
Because,
you can see. Okay, I'm listening.
Because that's 4 lines each.
Very good, because they have 4 lines each. Each of those things, they have 4 lines each. And their 4 lines does not continue on the subsequent stanza. And that is why we regard it as 3 quatrains and a couplet. Abab, abab, hebi, cd, ef, gg. Very good. And let's go on. Now, another type of poem is a ballad. A ballad too is a narrative poem, and it has a musical rhythm. Most time, a ballad can be sung. It can be turned to song. You can sing it. So, and it is usually organized in quatrains, mostly in 4 lines, and sometimes in sequence or a quintet in 5 lines. We see a ballad in form of 4 lines, or sometimes in 5 lines in a sequence or a quintet. So this type of poem that also talk about the tales of ordinary people. Talks about short story about ordinary people that seems to be insignificant. So we call it a ballad. Then we have epic. Epic too is a type of a narrative poem, and usually it uses elevated style in talking about the deeds of heroic people. For epic, it celebrates heroic people. It talks about heroic people, heroic personnel. Be the person an heroine, an hero or an heroine. So it celebrates people like this. Anybody with a greater achievement. You see, an epic, a poem in form of an epic or an epical poem in praise of such an individual. So usually it is in form of celebrating heroic people. Then we talk of haiku. Haiku is also an unrhymed verse that is always in form of 3 lines. An unrhymed verse, usually in form of 3 lines, a tacet. And you see these 3 lines in form of 5 syllables. You see the first line in 5 syllables, the second line in 7 syllables, and the last line also in 5 syllables. So, and it is usually also regarded as a lyric poem too. That's an haiku. When you see a poem of that category that has 5 lines for the five syllable for the first line, 7 syllable for the second line, and 5 syllable for the last line, we call it an haiku. Then we have the limerick. A limerick is also a very structured poem. And usually it is always very humorous. And this specific number of lines. It is always in 5 lines. It's a 5-line poem. A 5-line poem, which is regarded as a quintet or a cinquain. So, and it is usually in form of this rhyme scheme. The rhyming pattern is the same. Anytime you see the poem, the rhyming pattern is the same. Usually in A, A, B, B, A. That's a limerick. Usually in A, B, B, A. So we call it a limerick. And that is that for some of the terms we are looking at today on the element of poetry. Now let us quickly answer this class activity together. Please, how many of you are in class? Hello? Hello? 3. Okay, fine. Now, a poem of 7 lines. A poem of 7 lines is called what? What do you call a poem of 7 lines?
Septet.
A septet, very good, correct. What are the 3 types of poem according to form?
According to form, lyric poetry, narrative poem, and descriptive poem.
Very good, very good. I want another person to answer the next question. A poem without identifiable structure is said to be? A poem without identifiable structure is said to be? Yes? Any other? Okay, where there's nobody, somebody else, you please answer. You can continue, my dear. A poem without identifiable structure is said to be? Is said to be? I can't tell you. Is said to be?
No idea.
No idea. A free verse. When it has no identifiable structure, it's said to be a free verse. Now, a series of lines grouped together and separated by a line is called? A series of lines grouped together and separated by a line is called? It's called what?
Free verse.
We just said free verse for number 3 now. Can free verse still be for number 4? It's said to be?
Good.
A series of lines grouped together and separated by a line is called?
Is it stanza?
A stanza. A stanza. A poem of 5 lines is called? A poem of 5 lines is called?
Quintet.
Quintet. Very good. A poem that mourns the dead is a hohan?
Elegy.
An elegy. What are the 2 types? Oh, I did not complete it. What are the 2 types of sonnets? What are the 2 types of sonnets?
Shakespearean sonnet and patrician sonnet.
And Petrarchan sonnet. Petrarchan, very good. So what are the rhyme scheme of each of them? What are the rhyme scheme of each of them?
For Italian sonnet.
Okay.
Abba, CD.
Very good. For Shakespearean. For Shakespearean.
CD, AB, CD, EF, G.
Very correct. Very good. Keep it up there. What is the rhyme scheme for a limerick? What's the rhyme scheme for a limerick? You say?
A.
Very good. That's good. Barakallahu fi, inshallah. So here is the assignment. You have to write out the meaning and examples of the following figurative poetic devices. all these tabs too, they are still part of our elements of poetry. So I want you to do this on your own. This is not your first attempt of poetic devices. We have talked about it in this class too before. So go and look at it and explain each of them with examples. You explain each of them with examples. I'll send my number to the platform. So you shall submit to me individually. Please indicate your name when you're submitting. Is that taken? Is that taken?
Yes,
Please,
ma.
any question? Any question? Any question?
No, ma.
No, ma. Okay. Barakallah fi. Do you know your wife will soon be, the date will soon be known?
Yes.
So please continue to prepare. Barakallah fi as we anticipate the coming of the exam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome to Flavor Cafe. My God.
Hello, has the class ended?
Yes, sir, it has.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I said we are done.
Okay.